Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm speaking on Bunurong land, and I acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded, and this land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I've been asked to speak for 5 minutes about the budget, the aged care budget. I could probably speak for 1 hour about it. So I'm just going to be very, and stick to time. I've got my little timer going. So, and I was very interested earlier about sort of narratives that governments create around things. And the federal government has announced this $17.7 billion aged care budget with bells and whistles. And very quickly, the peak bodies for providers came out saying it was a big win for older people. However, if you look at this budget properly, and I'm just going to give you a couple of examples tonight, but it is actually a big win for aged care providers. It's not a win for older people. And those of us who had some hope on the Royal Commission are really, really devastated that, you know, the government's tinkering around the edges. There's no structural reform that's required to fix the aged care system. So this is a really, really bad outcome from the Royal Commission. Having just spent over $100 million on a Royal Commission, we've really got very little for it. So I'm just going to break the talk, or 2.5 minutes for each. But firstly, the home care sector. They're really speaking a lot about how they're giving $6.5 billion over 4 years to provide an additional 80,000 home care packages. For those who know anything about this, they're giving only 12,000 of the high-level packages, which are called level 4. Most of the packages they're giving out are the lower ones, the lower level ones. But the thing that really concerns me and other people in the advocacy space is the government has done nothing in terms of the accountability to stop the rorting on these packages. And a close reading of the Royal Commission's final report showed that they estimated on average somebody who's on a level 4 home care package, $52,000 a year, received only 8 hours and 45 minutes of support. So that's just over an hour a day, $52,000. You've got to ask, where is that money going? And the government has done nothing to make the providers more accountable for that money. So there are going to be, and continue to be, unscrupulous providers who are charging older people absolutely exorbitant fees in case management and administration. They're also charging really high rates for support workers, $70, $80 an hour for a support worker. They're charging a client, whereas the support worker is getting about $22 an hour. So they're making a huge profit on that. And they're also making huge profits on the excessive costs for equipment. So if you want to buy something at a medical suppliers for $100, you'll find a home care provider might be charging you anything up to $400. So home care providers were celebrating on budget night, I suspect with top shelf champagne. But also residential. I mean, the residential, it's such a mess at the moment. We heard about the neglect, we've heard about the abuse, we've heard about negligence. And in response, the government's saying, great, we're giving you $3.2 billion over 4 years. But they haven't introduced any financial transparency for that money. We don't know if that money is really going to be spent on the resident, or whether it's going to be spent on, direct care or food, or whether it's going to be spent on an executive salary or even perhaps a sports car. What they've introduced is $10 a day per resident. And all the provider has to do to get that money is to give an undertaking that they will report to the government on the expenditure. So it's kind of an undertaking. And most of the people in the industry are saying, or not, the advocates are saying, this is just going to be pocketed by the providers. And the thing that really concerns me is the Royal Commissioners noted that aged care providers have a long history of not spending extra government money on what they're supposed to. They've got 20 years of doing this since the 1997 Aged Care Act came in. So why did the government give them billions of dollars without tying that money explicitly to direct care for residents, and particularly on their food? So all I can say in conclusion, in my 5 minutes of speaking, is that the budget confirmed what many of us already knew, and that is that this government, the current government, has no intention of holding accountable the multinational providers and the corporatized charities. And they're going to be getting about $25 billion a year now of our taxpayers' money. And we still won't know how they're spending it. So that's all I'll say in my 5 minutes. Thank you.